Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome on into the swear word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear. And hey, this is a podcast for the chili community by the chili community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Up tonight, we have an amazing episode locked and loaded and a very fun game plan. So, episode 185 starts now. What's going on, everyone? So glad to have everyone here. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, and or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for being here and continuing to make this podcast what it is. Now, up tonight, we have Jeremiah of AhmLit Labs here. So we're going to be diving on into his entry into the world of spice, everything from there cascading down into, his overall challenges that kind of got him going, the inspiration along the way, and impact the community has had on him and that he would like to see. So we have also a very fun round of, the Spicy Gauntlet's back. This is iteration number 28. So if you would have answered the Spicy Gauntlet any different than Jeremiah does, let me know down below. And let's do this. Let's go ahead and kick it on over to tonight's podcast. Hey, Jeremiah, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Hey, glad to have you here. Heard quite a bit, about you. Obviously, have seen some of the achievements that you've been able to do over the years of really, between training, competitions, challenges, etc. So honored to have you here and learn more about what you have going on and really how you got started. So without further ado, I guess I'll just ask that icebreaker question. What got you into the world of hot? And then what was that catapulting moment that you said, you know what, I'm going to start competing?
Nice. What got me into the moment? I did challenges for a while, and I started seeing some chiliheads start competing for a belt. And I did the Death Nut Challenge, and I submitted my points to League of Fire. They gave me points, and then I had points from before, and they gave me those points back from before, and that just sparked me jumping back into League of Fire. I seen that there was a belt match in Pittsburgh, and I entered that match. And then I know I was going against Dean, so that started my training. Like, once I knew I was going against Dean, I was like, one pepper is not going to cut it. And next thing I know, I just started eating more and more. And then I seen it was the Terre Haute belt. They offered to do the hotels, accommodate the hotels. And I jumped right on that. I was like, well, that's just seeming like it's meant to be. And next thing I know, I enter that one. I enter that belt, win that belt, go to the Pittsburgh. Of course, Dean won. And then I get to the Americas belt, and then Dean wins that one as well. And winning the Terre Haute belt is what actually got me into the Intercontinental belt match that's going to be in Rieti, Italy, in August 29th. So I'm real excited about that.
Yeah, that's a super cool one to be invited to be able to go to. I'm interested to see how that plays out and hear back from you as well, because, almost everybody that I've talked to that has had either some kind of crossover, whether they've been competing or a spectator at a lot of those, like Italy belt match in general, is always talking about how those peppers are just kind of setting themselves apart. So
yeah, I luckily Francesco Ippolito, he sent me some seeds a couple years ago, and I actually grew the one that I grew was the Ghost Scorpion Peach. And just that alone, my tolerance was pretty high last year. And when I ate one of those, it lit me up. So they got some strong genetics.
Oh, well, yeah, hey, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a selection thing. Is like I still can't
Right.
wrap my head around the idea of, is it simply just the genetics and the breeding aspect that's causing that? Or is it the environment that's causing that? Well, what is this? So that's the part that's really fascinating to me. But yeah, I mean, the level of attention and focus that you'll see coming out of even just some of those seed vendors that are from the same area, right? You'll see a lot of great looking pictures. You'll see tons of just wicked spectacles, right? Of pepper genetics on display. So yeah, I mean, it's very possible it could be just down to the care and the level of focus whenever they are, being intentional with these crosses. So who knows?
Right. Right. I love it. It's exciting, all the crosses. But yeah, what got me to go to him, he had the purple ghost scorpion caramel, I
Mm,
believe. And it's caramel on the outside, but on the inside it was purple, and that just drew my attention to where I wanted something like that.
yeah.
And I got one this year, so hopefully it all works out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, something you had mentioned a second ago, talking about like obviously competing against, competitors such as like Dean, obviously a titan in his own right as well.
Yes.
And so, you spoke about like training and getting ready. And obviously now we've learned a little bit more about the seeds and you growing and et cetera. So is like your grow a part of what you've been doing, or is that something that's relatively recent that you've started to grow your own peppers?
Nice. Yeah, actually, I started growing peppers in 2020, and it just it's engulfed my life. Like I'm always mixing dirt now. It's kind of cool seeing Dean on Facebook. He always be like, "I'm up potting. I'm up potting." I was like, "I feel you. I'm up potting too."
Yep.
So it's definitely engulfed my life to where I love getting in the dirt. My hands, I don't know, it's just something about getting in the dirt. And if you're having a bad day, just mess with some dirt and it makes it better.
Yeah.
It's, I need it in my life.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's definitely a great way to be able to like not only just tap into obviously earth and nature in that sense, but to be able to kind of disconnect from everything else in that moment and just be there with the plants, getting your hands dirty, caring for something else, kind of pouring out that focus and attention in, really something that's uh, able to actually feel it per se, than say, much like, I mean, even much like this, it's ultimately, it's not quite that same release in the way of like watching something online is not now it can be relaxing, is not quite the same
Yeah.
relaxing feel, that positive energy, that overall just that relief that you get than just getting out there and doing it yourself. Plus, it's interesting. It's one of those things that I was reading up on not too long ago, talking about how studies showing how plants and the people that take care of the plants, like water, feed, etc., how there's studies that are showing that plants are able to detect whether or not their quote unquote owner is in the proximity or caretaker is in the proximity. So that's really cool.
Plants are amazing. I actually just started learning about that too. Like, yeah, they have memories and it's amazing. Like, I cannot believe, like, I wish I would have learned growing years earlier. Like, I watched my grandpa in the garden. I was kicked out of the garden for eating the tomatoes, but I mean, I didn't really learn back then. Back then, it was just, it was a chore, like, because
Hmm.
we had to weed and I just didn't pay attention. Well, I thought I didn't because I'm actually pretty good. People say I'm a green thumb, but I don't know. Like, if I would have learned sooner, I would be so far.
Yeah. Right,
But
that's part of it though. It's that whole trying to figure out what speaks to you, what calls to you, like what's that path forward that you want to take. And as with life, just in general, you're always bombarded with a whole bunch of inputs like coming in, right? And you just don't know quite which thing you want to pursue or what really calls to you. All these different things, right? So
yes,
yes, that that indirect learning per se is always beneficial whenever it takes hold, but yeah, it can be detrimental if you aren't paying attention to something and then later start to see value in that, and then it's like you have to go relearn everything all over again. It can be fun, but it's still a little bit
yeah,
more of a time lost than time gained in that. So yeah, okay,
yeah. I'm learning. I'm thinking it's a loss, but it's really I wasn't ready.
yeah, yeah. Well, what's your grow looking like now? Are you doing are you going pretty big scale on that, or are you kind of keeping it to tried and true dozen or two?
I believe I'll have the most I've had this year and bigger pots. I learned. It's funny how we're talking about that. I learned container size is the one of the words of the year because I'm learning in my area and everything. The container size matters,
Mm-hmm.
and like what I mean by that is a lot of my issues in the past I thought was due to nutrients or whatever, but it was just my plants were ready to be put in the ground, and I've never been able to put in the ground because of where I live. But I've learned like all I did was up pot, and it'll give you the same stressors as like nutrient deficiencies, but it was just ready to be up potted.
Yep.
And watching that over this winter, I've learned a lot just by that.
Yeah, yeah, it's remarkable how many people will grow in containers or in spaces. Which I mean, you can still, very true to what you were saying. You can still grow in those and have a successful grow in a smaller container. The difference is the volume, the amount of harvest, the size, the peppers, the health of the overall plant. All that stuff does diminish with when it is confined like that. So something that I was just recently trying to look into, and it kind of goes perfect with this as well, which is the idea of the container shape versus container volume, which is playing more of an impact. And spoiler alert, obviously, volume still is absolutely crucial to know like how much soil and et cetera that the root base has to go in, but what I found interesting is stability of these plants can be actually increased with, direct down roots are great, but oftentimes, much like if you were to stand with your feet together, and you get shoved, you're going to fall over.
Uh,
Where
mm,
when you have your feet, wider apart, you're more sturdy when people hit you from the sides, right? And so
mm,
it was basically correlating how if you had even a shallow or shallower basin to your overall potter, but it was wider than say some of the others that are just vertical, it's going to be one, it's going to provide a bigger grow area. Once again, how you're saying with the confinement of the root base, you're having the root base be able to spread out more as long as you're keeping that soil everywhere else alive, moist, everything, so that the plant can still take up the nutrients and the roots can spread easily without having issue. But yeah, the thing that's interesting is it's like at what point for a pepper plant do you need to have that depth to before you start to I guess where my thought is I'm wondering where that trade off is between. So that's something that I'm pursuing. But yeah, very true to what you're saying. It's a lot of folks will start early indoors and not pay attention to the fact that their plants have been stuck in that same container for 1 month, 2 months, sometimes even longer, and it's just choking out in there, and it can't really get anywhere. It's going to be root bound. A lot of folks aren't even like trying to tease the roots if they are root bound. They're just dropping them in, and they stay just that. They don't really spread much because of that. So, yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's a big thing I learned this year too, was about that with the suffocation and all that. That's
Yep.
why I call it the best hobby in the world, because you learn all the time. Like, you're always learning.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things I've learned was when I would say I'm a master grower. I remember when I started, I'm like, I'm a master grower. That's a telltale sign
Yeah.
that you're a
Well,
newbie.
yeah. Well, it's the simple idea that like, and you can see somebody that has been in the game for a while, if you will, and they'll still kind of have that old adage of like, I have this all figured out. There's nothing you can tell me that's going to change my mind, etc. But
Mhm.
that is right there the limiting factor, and the thing that ends up hurting them the most is the fact that they're wanting
Right.
to shut off the idea of learning, of experimenting, of trying things. Because, sure, we know what works and we can, that's great. But like running fun little experiments on the side, not saying affect your whole entire grow by changing all of this, but like try to isolate one or two plants, run some, tests. Okay, try this different amendment, try this different container, whatever the case may be, and have fun with it. I mean, that's part of the process throughout this all is, we get these seeds dropped in, and what's the first thing you do? You're like, oh, okay, well, who's going to pop up first? You're scanning the overall tray. You're like, basically starting to place bets. I think this one's going to make it, right? And we get a little bit too excited and too involved, and then it starts to be
Yep.
detrimental to the overall growth experience for this plant. So having those experiment plants allows you to still have that excitement and not lose that spark, but not affect the rest of what you have going on. So
Yes, I've ruined last year's grow and the year before, or the year before, by the experiments, by doing the whole grow that way. And yeah, I've learned.
yeah, yeah, it's
Last year,
oh, go ahead.
last year, I watched a video about the 40 things the Amish do, and they actually saved my year last year. Like little stuff, like I think a tuna can. Just take like an empty tuna can, just set them in your garden somewhere, and then uh, pretty much if that's empty, you need to water them, and if it's full, you don't. Like little stuff like that is amazing.
Yeah,
And if you wouldn't just sit that into different parts of your garden, you'd think that, oh, it's outside, so everything's getting the right amount of moisture. And no, it's not. Like, just sit that there, and it's actually a good indicator. If it's empty, it needs water. If it's full, it don't need water.
yeah, yeah. A lot of folks will get those little meters and they'll run them, but like you know, as with most things today, everything is well, there's a lot that are like knockoffs that are out in the market that are readily available through all your major online retailers, etc. And so like a lot of those will short out or not give an accurate reading or not, they have ways to fail. So that tuna can idea is awesome because, well, that eliminates the chances of failure. I guess really the only way it could fail is if there was something like a tree or something blocking the potential chance of
Yes.
rainfall, but it's still giving you an accurate read. It's still telling you like, hey, this area needs water. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't fail like that.
Yes. Right. I like that. Yep.
No.
That's exactly why I did it that way.
Well, it's always fun to kind of talk about the grow aspect of things, the learning lessons, the struggles, and everything that kind of comes along the way. I guess as you've gotten through, whether that be as you're mentioning, trying out, experimenting with something on the whole grow, have you found there to be some like an ingredient, an amendment, a feed, or something of that nature that just really hasn't worked out for you, or it's been more of a detriment than what you've been told it would be?
Well, not really. Like my main issue I found was like thinking something was wrong, and then I'd add an amendment, and then now you're chasing because you added something you didn't need to, and then now you got to fix that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like last year, I didn't know my main problem was garden soil. Like you can use garden soil if you know how to amend it, but I didn't. I just used straight garden soil because I was hitting bad. I was like, well, that turned out to not be a good idea because of the suffocating the roots and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started listening to people too. Uh, you can put plants in the straight compost, and so I tried that. I didn't understand. So the compost I used, it was the cow manure compost, but it goes into that's too salty. Yeah, it's too salty. And I didn't know all that, but I did find that I thought the statement was untrue for a while, that you can just throw them straight in. One, if they're established, you can. But I actually got like the soil that for my worms, and it's actually the best growing soil. It's just I don't have enough for every one of my pots, but the pH stays the same. Like it's amazing how living soil just corrects itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, the learning the compost and that stuff that's one of the things I needed to learn big, because I messed up a lot of my grows because of the salts and learning the aspects of all that.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that goes into the containers, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And then have the different types of materials that the containers are in. That also plays effect, even down to the sheer color of it, based on, is it going to get direct sunlight or is it not going to get direct sunlight? And I mean, even the type of materials play into effect, because then it's like, okay, is this material actually meant to be outside? Because, oftentimes new growers will just rush out and they'll find the first buckets that they can, nothing wrong with it, but maybe those buckets aren't intended to be in outdoor use, and all of a sudden that starts to break apart or fall apart and just starts to become brittle. And so, yeah, there's kind of an interesting balance between it all. And if you can grow in ground, very true to what you're saying, and you're using like a living soil situation, you can also do living soil in the containers. But for what you were mentioning about like the balancing itself out aspect, that is a definitive, very minor inputs needed from you to continue type of scenario if you have that, in ground set up with living soil. As to where with some of those in containers, it can sustain itself for a very long time. But if you accidentally did something to disrupt the balance, it might not have the same resources, if you will, to pull from like in ground to be able to help auto correct itself, essentially.
It's funny you mentioned the container and in ground. I like the experiment deal too, because I have this wall of maters that I made, and throughout the last 2 years, the tomatoes from the past seasons have grew their own. So, like I think it's towards the end of last season, I noticed the ones that grew from I call them wild, I guess, because I didn't plant on them or anything. It was just natural.
Mm-hmm.
Those plants caught up to my other tomatoes, and it was growing through concrete. Like, man, and I would spend all this time making my container beautiful, and then I just watch it growing through the concrete, like loving life.
Man, hey, that's the thing that everyone kind of seeks out. Everyone kind of wants to have that aha realization that it's just like the plant so resilient that it'll just grow anywhere, right? But yeah, that had to be a lot of fun. I see those. Oh, golly, it's been a while since I've seen these, but as you're saying, growing through the concrete, it started making me think of, I don't remember where it was in Asia, but I'm pretty sure they said it was in Asia somewhere. They were talking about how they'll set a brick grid, but leave like a small strip between these bricks with, dirt to be able to plant into. And, from a visual, that soil down there did not look healthy or alive. It just looked like just dirt. Like, it didn't look active. We'll put it that way. And so I was completely confused, but it must be because, they had bountiful harvest through there. But yeah, it's just growing between these bricks, and it's probably maybe an inch to an inch and a half gap between. So it's like, I don't understand it, but all the stalks are just, basically suffocated to the point to get around the bricks, and then just boom, healthy, booming, thriving, looking great. But it was something that was popped up. Someone had sent it to me as like a natural weed barrier, or basically a method to try for. And so I was like, that's interesting. I personally wouldn't take the time to get bricks and dig into the ground and put them away. But hey, more power to them. So if that works in somebody's area, hey, that's pretty cool.
It's good to have in the back of the head.
Yeah.
That knowledge.
You had mentioned a few times you're basically kind of getting started with tomatoes in the garden early on, still enjoying tomatoes today. Are you more of a cherry tomato? Do you like the beefsteak tomato? Like, where do you fall into this mix? You like those big hearty ones?
I actually like now that you mentioned it, the cherry tomatoes. Those are actually the ones I got kicked out of the garden for. Was the cherry tomatoes. But yeah, I like those. This year, I'm only growing one tomato variety just because it grows so well here in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the queen of the night. It's beautiful looking, and it tastes like amazing. Like a normal beefsteak, I don't like those anymore because of it. But the one beefsteak I do like, it's called the Sart. Oh, I'm going to murder it. Sart release. It's like it's probably not how you pronounce it, but it's like a purple and gold tomato, and it's, I guess, less acidic. I mean, the acidity don't bother me as much, but for beefsteak, that was the best beefsteak tomato I've ever had. But what I found is I'm not very good at the beefsteak tomatoes because I don't know. I guess I'll get a big one, but I don't know. That one big tomato is not really worth it to me. I'd rather like a whole. What do you call like a whole vine?
Oh, yeah.
Well, a whole bushel or bundle. I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
But,
I can't think of it. The term is actually eluding me right now, as well as I'm trying to think of this. Here, I'm gonna look it up now that we're talking about that. Okay. Now, as far as, well, I get this pulled up. Yeah, we had talked about challenges earlier on, kind of being that segue in for you. What was kind of that first challenge? Was it like at a restaurant that you had kind of had that first little challenge, or did you happen to buy a pre-made product that was already like packaged for a challenge? How did that kind of come to be?
Actually, I believe, I was I watched Chase the Heat quite a bit, and I watching him do challenges. That got me into it, the challenge side of it, and I believe it was the crunchy challenge. Like, I noticed those Pocky chips. I remember a buddy, he gave me one of those thinking it was going to rock me. And I remember doing the video. I think it's still up, but it didn't even faze me. And then noticing that I wasn't fazed compared to other people, that's what got me thinking that I might be into the challenges. And then I was in Heat Feasters with Andrew Harris. You know him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he ended up getting first, but that's what actually started the competitive challenges. Cause I do challenges and all that. I failed the Four Horsemen or the Curse of the Four Horsemen. I only did 2 of them and I was rolling around on the ground out there for like 3 hours, man, off 2 of them. I can only imagine if I did 4. But, yeah, doing that one, that's when I noticed, like, that's when I realized how serious capsaicin really was. Like, I mean, like the challenges, they're really not much. But once I did that one, I think if you do all of them, it's like 64 reapers. That's like an insane amount for in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I would never have dreamed that. Now that I mentioned that, it's crazy. Like in that Pittsburgh match, a lot of people don't talk about it, but that Pittsburgh match was intercontinental level. There was like 54 peppers in that one. That's like insane.
That's the
this
part
year
that
I can
I
only
enjoy
imagine.
the most is watching those big, obviously it's a big load on the growers, right? Because that's a lot of peppers just to supply for, potentially up to 10 people at a time. And it's like, if you were to expect potentially, as you're starting to think this through, you're got to be factoring in at least 8 people probably still remaining as a strong buffer, right? That way you don't have to have the full, capacity of all 10 people expected to make it to the end. But that also still gives you that buffer that if there are, let's say, 4 people at the speed round, it gives you a massive amount of peppers to choose from, right? Or to stack out in front of them. Very much like that Blaze for the Brave, the way that kind of ended, it was just a large amount of peppers in front of all those competitors, rightfully so. That was a big belt match.
2 days.
Yeah. But that's just like, that's the part that I like the most, is watching whenever there's just this giant horde of peppers in front of everyone as they're trying to go through. And, the intense spikes is cool. But it's like, how do you handle that pressure over time is always a fun thing to witness and to see. So yeah, it has to be, I guess from a grower's perspective, and like Jacob Deathridge, when he was on, mentioned it, but like, it has to be a lot of fun to watch as, other competitors are chomping on your grow and just getting obliterated. Right. So, hey, there's definitely, levels to this in which are a lot of fun. With there being many different groups, what active group are you the most, involved in as far as like a challenge-based perspective right now?
Actually, I'm not in any group really. I'm mainly just focused on League of Fire, I guess. Like, I wouldn't mind getting back into that Insanity Club.
Pure Insanity. Yeah.
Yeah, Pure Insanity. Yeah, like them. Those scare me. They scare me. But I'm not really in any challenge groups.
Okay.
Like I don't mind. Yeah, like I'll do a whatever group.
Yeah. Well, and then for those that are, they're wanting to keep up with what you have going on, what kind of content, what kind of things can they expect to see roll out? Obviously, you're I've caught quite a few of what have been more of your training videos leading up to a competition. But for everyone that's like watching, listening, how can they, like, what are some of the things they can expect to see from you?
Revamped last year. Last year, I liked the motivation that my viewers gave me to keep showing up to. That was a big help last year. Was knowing that they're going to be there, and then giving me accountability to be there as well. That was a big part of last year. And what I mean by a revamped this year, all that I learned last year is going to be way better this year. I came out. There's a new lit order uh, that I created. It's just people who've been there to help, and I know it's not much, but it's all I got at the moment. So I don't know. I think it's kind of cool to give out the lit order idea, but going into that is I'm really big into music. I love
Mm.
music, and I'm actually pumping out a whole lot of songs to try to actually get a real good interactive show going on. I'll give you an exclusive. There's this flame wheel idea concept that I'm doing. Once I get more pods,
Yeah.
and I can change the peppers, and it's going to be fun, interactive, and I'm going to do that too, so that it keeps me motivated, draws more people into watching. Because if I wouldn't have found capsaicin, it changed my life in so many areas. Like you hear a lot of people talk about sobriety, like they use it to stay sober and all that, and it's been a big help for me.
Hmm.
Like there's been days I'll have a bad day and just eat a pepper, and I mean your day's bad, but it's better. I don't know how to explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you get that
But
nice endorphin dump, that nice release, and it really just it gets that perspective. It puts things into perspective, I should say, in the sense of much like how if you're going to start your day off with like a cold plunge or whatever, it is the idea of doing something difficult, something challenging, something uncomfortable, and getting through it, accomplishing it, and moving forward that helps kind of reframe everything else that you're looking for or looking at throughout the rest of your day, week, whatever. It just that's the cool part about just one of the many areas that capsaicin has helped. Not only others, but just in day to day life. I mean, there's tons of health benefits and all that stuff, as mentioned before, but it's just like, you know, being able to, there is something to that. Like some people will make their bed first thing in the morning, and that's their motivation to get going, right? And then there's others that like to hit the gym hard in the morning, or they'll like to burn, or whatever the case may be. And it all achieves essentially the same outcome, result, goal, whatever, but just done in different ways. And obviously, it happens to be that burning, on capsaicin is definitely the way to go. For anyone that may be watching and listening here, I'm more than willing to bet. So, always a fun time to do that. What's your
yes,
favorite way to burn? Do you like peppers? Do you like sauce? Do you like tincture? Where do you kind of like fall in that?
I've grown to, I really love like fresh pods now. Like it's crazy. Like after eating fresh pods and stuff, like you can tell something that has extract in it, and you could tell like powders, and so I definitely, based on all that, I definitely have grown fond of fresh pods. Like I found hot sauces, they don't get that fix anymore.
Hmm.
So I mainly do powders now. What I was like about powders is it goes on so many more things, and you ain't got all the sugar, the salts, and
Yep, yep. And
all
it's
that.
a lot easier to ramp up or keep, in a safe region, depending on who you're serving for, too. I mean, the same could be
Yeah.
said for sauce, but it's not. You can't use potentially, and have a super high heat sauce. You can't use quite as much if someone's tolerance isn't quite there, in the same way that you could potentially do with a high heat powder, because you could theoretically, depending on what it's going on, give someone more of the powder, whether that be a blend or just straight pepper powder. It will help, I guess, mix in better in that sense and still bring forward that flavor, that heat. As to where, let's say, once again, someone that can't really handle heat, and you take a high heat sauce, you give them a dot or two in their food to mix up, it's not going to have that same experience. So, Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see where, that would be the ideal situation to have those freshies there. I personally like them as well. I've started to notice, and the reason why I asked that is because I've started to notice that there's times where I just gravitate naturally to, say, more of the sauces or more tinctures or whatever the case may be. And it's just, it's one of those things that I didn't know if it's something that just simply is my preference or if this is more of, something that you see naturally happening. Just kind of that ebb and flow of preference on that. So people that have like helped either be a mentor or helped kind of accelerate maybe your chili head journey, has there kind of been anyone like that, or maybe that they've kind of like encouraged you to whether take on a challenge or take on something that you otherwise were on the fence about?
Yes, actually, Fiery Red. He was in the Terre Haute too, and while he was in there, he kind of poked me to go do the 7-pot challenge where it's the most 7 pots in 1 minute. And he said the world record or Guinness is going to be there. And he's like, well, you'll also be going against the world champ. And as soon as he said that, I was like, you sure know how to get me to say yes. And actually, I did that. And what was real cool is 2 hours later, after doing the 7-pot speed with him, I went and won the Terre Haute belt.
Nice.
So I'm grateful for Fiery Red. He's an awesome dude.
Absolutely. Great guy, an amazing, not only competitor, but also beneficial person to the community, much like we were talking about with just the overall love and support. I mean, always quick to try to learn as much as he can, but also willing to share that same knowledge with others instead of just hoarding it all for himself, right? So that part's really cool. And to be able to see him get out there, get plugged in the sense of, bringing other chili heads into the fold is it's an awesome thing. Yeah. It shows that it is not, while it may be an individual contributed, sport in the sense of like you only win based on your own, push in that sense, but he doesn't let that be a limiting factor. He wants everyone else as well to rally up behind him. And that's the perfect thing you want out of someone that is a champion like that. And world champion. And so, he's living it, he's doing it. And what a great way to, get plugged into that event. That had to be super cool. Well, I do have a very fun game planned for this. It kind of goes perfectly in line with kind of what we've already been talking about, but I do have another question that I know I always get asked. I'm sure you probably get asked this often, but let's go ahead and hit it with a little bit of, what is your favorite sauce or favorite, like a favorite sauce level heat-wise, if you will? Don't have to specifically get down to a sauce unless you have one. And then what is your kind of like ideal everyday heat that you like to eat from like a pepper standpoint?
The sauce, one of my favorite sauces for heat is that, I don't know if it was the Hotter Than the Devil's Pecker by Primo's. Mm-hmm. That one, I like that one because it's more like you can put that like on like seafood. You can put it on a lot of stuff. There's some things you can't. Now that you mentioned the like the seafood deal. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of what that flavor is that is like makes it unique from the other sauces.
Oh yeah, the Cajun seasoning in there.
Yeah,
it's got that kind of Cajun blend to it.
Yeah, like I forget the word that I'm actually trying to use, but that's what I like about that one, and it's hot. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. That's one of the higher ones. Like that, he came out with that Primo Army. That one's hot. Mm-hmm. But it just don't go on as many things, I guess.
Fair enough.
But
Yeah, I've got pretty crafty with that Swampadelic before because of
that
using
one's
that
nice.
was golly. Actually, going back, I think this was either 20. I can't remember if it was 2019 or 2020. I guess that had to be 2019. Whenever that happened, I think is what it was. But whatever. With a big snowstorm that came through Texas, I ended up. The gas stove still worked, so I heated up some chocolate and I melted that down. And I took some Swampadelic and I put that to the side. It was ready to go. Took out some of those muffin, like the little paper things that go around muffins, right? The little cup. And I stuck
Yep.
those into a tray, poured some chocolate in there, set a shot glass on top of it. Like let the very bottom level harden, set a shot glass in there, poured some more, pulled that shot glass out, filled that with Swampadelic, and threw it back in the freezer to chill, and had like a Swampadelic dark chocolate disc. And it actually worked out pretty good. It definitely hits the gut nice on that one. So not something that is geared towards those that are just getting started on that. For anyone that's listening and having this idea like come to mind, like that sounds good. So be cautious there. But all in all, phenomenal. I ended up making two different ones. I made one with where I poured chocolate on the top to fully enclose it, and I left another one where it was you could see the hot sauce. And I don't know. I don't know if it was because I could see the hot sauce that I enjoyed it more or what, but I could taste so much more of the hot sauce with that than say having it fully encapsulated inside of the chocolate. So pretty fun way to use Swampadelic. If you're ever looking
Right, I
for
never even would have thought of that.
a very fun way to go about it. Just a little slight sprinkle of some salt at the very end on top. Nice little finish.
Yeah, that sounds good. Get me hungry now.
Yep. Hey,
I want to try.
perfectly a nice little chili head treat right there to check out. But speaking of chili head treats, this next game here is going to be absolutely fun, and it's going to continue on this conversation. So let's go ahead and jump on over there.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We have Spicy Gauntlet. This is iteration number 28 for all those that are keeping track at home. So the way that this goes is it's a bracket showdown here. So just because something wins does not mean that all the others are absolutely inferior and that you would never touch them. It just simply someone has to win. This may be based on however you want to break this down. This could be personal preference. You could even factor every single intricate item differently on you, however you want to scale it. But ultimately, someone must win. And, well, there's the sauce gauntlet, there's the pepper gauntlet, and then there's the spicy gauntlet. So we're not going to be talking about just sauce. We're not going to be talking about just peppers. We're going to be talking about everything else. So let's dive on in here, and I will unveil the very first two items. Well, we have the Toe of Satan versus the Holy Cowlick.
Are we doing the heat or?
However you want to rate it. This is your way of breaking this down.
Rating.
Yeah. However you want to.
The cowlick. I'll do the cowlick.
All right.
Because Toe of Satan, that's a all right challenge.
Yeah. Hey, it's one of those that's in here. The reason why it's on there is that could be someone's jumping in point. So always fun to have.
It's a great jump in.
All right, yes. Up next, well, we have a battle of the Tube of Terror. Whether you are corn nuts or you are peanuts, I guess that's really the main differentiator other than cap crystals versus non-cap crystals.
Well, I prefer corn nuts, but I haven't had those ones. But I'm a corn nugs guy. Like those tuba terror, that rocked me. That's one of the scariest challenges I remember being. That's my first vibrating hands.
Yep.
I get vibrating hands when, but yeah, I'll pick the tuba terror. I've actually had those. I haven't had the other ones.
Okay.
I made my own. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How did that turn out? Was that a lot of fun? Did like you just
It
utilize
was.
some already existing corn nugs and then kind of coat those, or did you make the corn nugs yourself?
You can make them yourself.
Nice.
That's the craziest part about it. Yeah, it's actually real easy. All you do is just take the corn and you just heat it,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
But yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like making them myself. You can do either or though.
Okay. I like it. Well, we have a battle of the chugs right here. So you have the Killer Queen version 2, or you have the Ryback.
I've never had the Ryback, so I like UK Chili Queen. She's awesome. We'll go with that one.
All right. Easy enough. We'll keep it moving here. And on to the next one. Well, we have Fiorana versus the OMG.
Yeah, I'll pick the OMG because I'm not a fish guy.
Yep. No worries. Hey, that as well for me is something that I have had to steer away from. Now, granted, I can't eat non-shelled fish, so there's a reason why I don't eat that one or haven't tried that one. So, but all right, let's go ahead and jump on into the other side of the bracket, and we will keep this thing going. We have the Little Nitro once again, paying a little bit of homage to maybe someone's entry point to, jumping into the world of hot, versus Reaper Roulette from Chili of the Valley.
Well, I haven't had that one. What's that top one?
That is the Little Nitro, the gummy bear, the extract gummy bear.
Oh, I've had that. We'll go with that roulette.
All right. It's a brutal one. Is that the one you said that you're not quite as familiar with?
Yeah, I've never did that one.
I've only watched others partake in it, and I'm trying to think. I can't remember if I've seen anyone. I mean, I've seen people complete them, but I've also seen people stack other challenges with that. So, and typically by the time they hit
Silvano do
this,
that
they
one?
jump out. What's that?
So I think I might have seen Silvano do that roulette. Didn't he
Quite-
get the world record, maybe?
Quite possibly.
I remember a roulette. I remember seeing that somewhere. It might have been a different roulette.
I think that might be the only, at least to my knowledge, I think that might be the only roulette challenge out there, unless there's another one I'm not as familiar with. But yeah, that's a pretty brutal one. Up next, we have Pain in the Pineapple, and then versus the Crunchy Challenge.
The crunchy. I had to go with the crunchy.
All right. Is that do you like the Rice Krispie treats, or do you just like the level of the heat difference? What is the shakedown on that one?
That one was actually probably the League of Fire challenge I've done the most.
Okay.
Actually, and I've did quite a few of those.
Okay. All right. I like it. Up next, we have Brunion versus the Wasabi for Disaster.
I'll do the wasabi for disaster.
All right.
I like wasabi.
I do too. Do you like the real, like, so you'll have, obviously that the stuff that they'll sell at the stores, it's like more horseradish than wasabi, and then you have that like actual wasabi. Are you a purist in that sense, or do you not have a preference either way? You'll eat both.
Oh, I'll definitely eat both, but you could tell the difference.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Well,
the wasabi is actually where one of the things I learned that I liked the pain, because me and my buddy, we used to make fun of it all the time. We'd go to Chinese and we'd brag about how it always would hurt, but yeah, we'd keep on going after
yep,
it.
yep. I personally enjoy the way that it like opens up the sinuses and
Yep,
kind of gives that deep,
immediately.
almost like sinus burn. For me, it's
Mm-hmm.
extremely relieving because I didn't really battle with allergies often until after coming back from deployment, and then now finding out that allergies are a drag in that sense, and wasabi and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that tickles that area of my sinuses and helps kind of like alleviate some of that pressure. Yeah, it's always nice when you get the real deal and it just lights you up like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
like to relieve the pressure. I have that problem too.
oh yeah, it's always nice when that happens. But we have the unbearable versus the Moab.
The Moab,
All right, have you completed one in its entirety?
not the Moab. I've seen that a lot though. That's the chili peach, right?
Yep. That is absolutely a great spicy chocolate bar there. Reason why I asked that is I have done it, but I have not completed it in its entirety because I just could not eat the last two squares. It was just too much chocolate for me. Um,
I,
it's a brutal one, but now we're down to the final 8, and here we go. It's starting to shape up like a very tight race here. Starting to see a little bit of a pattern
pretty cool.
going on here. So let's go ahead and jump on into this next battle. We have Maddie's Holy Cowlick versus the Tube of Terror.
Oh, dude, the tube of terror. That haunts me still.
Yep. Well, it's also ironic because I had this conversation with somebody recently. Tube of Terror is one of those that lives in a lot of chili heads' minds from an early on, like jumping into challenges, or maybe this being like one of the first more extreme challenges that they got into. And it's like permanently left a mark
Yep.
on so many. And it's not even like it is hot. Don't get me wrong. It is definitely hot. It's not a entry challenge per se. But there are so many other challenges that have, a higher, much more intense heat than that. But it's just the way at which the challenge is delivered that really brings that intensity in and makes it hit harder, I feel like.
Now that you mention that, yeah, that was one of the hardest parts is how it hit. Like eating it was fine, but it was just how it hit.
Yep. All right. Well, next up we have the Killer Queen version 2 versus the OMG. Where would you like to take this one?
Killer Queen.
All right. Well, man, this is just looking at this side alone, it is a battle of two Titan
It's
products
awesome.
right here. This is shaping up to be an epic battle on the left side, but let's jump on in and see who they are going to potentially go up against. We have Reaper Roulette from Chili of the Valley versus the Crunchy Challenge.
Crunchy. Just
All right.
from the history.
Yep. Makes sense. Absolutely. Wasabi for Disaster versus the Moab Bar.
Oh, that's a classic. We'll go Moab.
All right.
Dang.
Yep.
Wasabi.
And the battle goes on to the final 4. Here we go. I feel like all the pressure is on the left. So let's start with the right, and we will go ahead and place its competitor. This is either going to be really easy for you or really hard for you to decide what's about to be eliminated. But you have the Moab versus the Crunchy Challenge.
Just because of the history of Crunchy.
All right. Crunchy it is. And I will go ahead and make that a little bit bigger there. Throw an X on that Moab, and we will get it on over here. We have the Tuba Terror versus the Killer Queen version 2.
Oh, I just got her. We'll do the Queen.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. And I'm going to, let's make this reasonably the same size.
This is a real hard one.
Let's go ahead and get that X on there. And, well, now we are down to the final 2 on the spicy gauntlet here. And let's go ahead and punch on in. Where are we taking this? We have the Killer Queen versus the Crunchy. Who is taking home the W?
We got to give it to the Queen.
All right. All right. I like it.
Undefeated. We got to keep that undefeated.
Yep. Let's go ahead and for dramatic effect, let's make that nice and big there. And bada bing. Yeah. We have the Killer Queen version 2 taking home the Spicy Gauntlet 28. Absolutely amazing. What did you think of this breakdown? Was there anything in here that you were kind of expecting to see as we got going?
No, this was very fun. Man, it gave me goosebumps. This was awesome.
Awesome.
I liked what you did there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A blast. I hope that was a nice little mental reset, a palate cleanser, if you will. Yes. A nice way to kind of break up the conversation. So glad you enjoyed that one. This next part here is greatly beneficial. This is that nugget of knowledge. This is going to be geared towards, like, let's say maybe some of those individuals, much like how you were saying, you got started kind of with the challenges, but you also had some history of, family growing plants and being out in the garden and kind of that whole thing. But maybe someone has a very similar experience, maybe, and they're just uncertain about either putting themselves out there or taking that next step. It can be a little bit of a daunting, fearful task. What would be your advice for those individuals that are just getting started?
Just go into it with an open mind. A thing to keep in mind is you always want to keep improving and never stop learning, because tricks that used to work in the past might not work on other plants. Like I'm learning the different species and that they actually like different amendments. And getting into challenges, like the community's amazing. Like Fiery Red, like he helps push people. So if you want to get in with a good community, just the chili community, it's just an amazing group of people. And just get in the back pocket of some of your favorite people that you see, like, because they're all open-minded. That's what I've learned. Like, I found my problem now is I try to keep separate, or I don't know how to word it, but I noticed the chili community, I'm drawn to those people because of how friendly and kind they are. And it's a refreshing breath of fresh air to just be around those people, as opposed to this normal outside life where no one cares about each other and it's all me. And it's not like that with the chili community. Like, I am so glad I got into it. And the camaraderie is amazing. But just keep an open mind. That's what I learned. Like, in the past, I had an ego. Like, leave the ego at the door. That's one thing I had to learn. And we need to learn that. I can't believe some of the things I've made it out of because of this.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a rough life, but the chili community and you people all have helped me make, like, I'm speechless on, like, this whole capsaicin community.
I think you nailed it perfectly. It's the love, the support. It is unlike almost anywhere else, right? There's obviously this same thing can exist anywhere and everywhere, and it should. But unfortunately, very true to what you're saying, in today's society, it's not always the case. So, yeah, I absolutely agree. Get plugged in, find out who resonates with you, who you want to learn from, etc. And yeah, very true. I like that nugget of knowledge. So thank you for that. This next part here is the hot seat nomination. This is your chance to put someone on the hot seat. This is someone that you think would make a great guest for the show.
Great. I'd nominate Dean just because the more I find out about Dean, the cooler he gets. Like, it's awesome. I found out he was in like karate and all that, and just finding out little stuff like that. I'm intrigued to know more, so I nominate Dean.
All right, Dean,
from Conjured Vapors.
Dean, I will reach out, have a time to have you come back on the podcast. Yes, absolutely. Dean is an amazing person. He's been on before. We kind of got to barely scratch the surface, kind of talking about his debut into really growing in that competitive scene. But so much has exploded in his life for the best, in the sense of competitions and wins and pushing and just his overall growth online. So honored to have that nomination. Thank you so much for that. This next part here is greatly beneficial for those that are just audio only listeners on Apple Podcasts. Hey guys, y'all can come on over to YouTube, Spotify, Rumble to get the video as well and enjoy the full thing. But hey, appreciate y'all nonetheless. But for those that are audio only listeners, where can they find you? How can they find you? And any kind of announcements you want to make, this is a great opportunity for that.
Oh, well, it's a perfect opportunity. I am on SoundCloud. Look up AhmLit Labs. I'm really trying to get it to merge the music with capsaicin and all that. I don't know where that's going to lead, but I'm loving it.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great way to go about it. And hey, Jeremiah, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. There's still so much more to talk about, learn, discuss. So would love to have you back on. And yeah, I will have all the other direct links as well down below for those that are just listening. They want to jump on in. I will have everything in the description. So honored to have you here, and would love to have you back.
Thank you. It'd be an honor.
Jeremiah, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. If you would like to keep up with Jeremiah, I'll have the direct links down below for all the ways that you can keep up with everything that he has going along, as well as the lit order, as he had mentioned, and the SoundCloud will be all linked down below. So go ahead, check those out. And hey, I want to say thank you all so much for continuing to be here, support the podcast in all the different ways, in all the different journeys, everything from product reviews to the podcast itself, and much, much more. Thank y'all all so much, Swear Nation, for everything that y'all do. Continue to share this around with other like-minded chili heads or individuals that are curious about the world of hot. This is where you can find everything to do with the world of hot. New episodes drop every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, with a periodic Thursday rolling in. If you're on a platform that allows for a rating and review of the podcast, please go ahead and do so. That helps out immensely. Get in front of those individuals that might be curious about the world of hot, all the ways to those that have just been absolutely immersed in the overall community. Find the podcast and get in front of that algorithm. So thank you all for those that have rated and reviewed the podcast so far, and thank you to those that are soon to do so. Want to say as well, we have current sponsorship opportunities available for the podcast. So if you're looking to have a featured segment within the podcast, go ahead and reach out on theswearword.net or reach out on socials and we get that conversation going. Want to give a quick shout out for our current sponsors, podvision.io. If you're looking to grow your brand, start your brand, you've hit a bump in the road, you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io for all of those needs. Also, webdx.one. Maybe you have an online site. Maybe you had a guy at one point and you lost contact with him. Maybe you just never got around to building a website. Highly recommend checking out webdx.one. Best of all, they get you looking great online while you get to focus on what you do best. I'm Brandon Swear, and from everything from the world of hot, this has been The Swear Word.